Hi, and welcome to this episode of Barnabas, Sons of Thunder. Have you ever been surprised by a relationship not going the way you thought it was going to? Have you ever really wanted something and just not been able to get it? We all deal with disappointments in our life, and here today to share some of their disappointments with you are your hosts, J.E. Bundy and Brett Ritchie. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We are Barnabas, Sons of Thunder.
Sons of Thunder.
Thanks for tuning back in. Episode 2, moving right along. It's going good. We're having a good time. Hopefully you are too. I guess you are, or you wouldn't have tuned in to this second episode. So hopefully you liked episode 1 enough that you're back for more, or you thought it was a big enough train wreck that you decided, I got to see more of that horrible mess.
The comment sections tend to lean that direction over the other.
The internet is a mean place. Don't go on the internet unless you have strong self-esteem, which we're both very arrogant people, so that works out well for us.
we can just kidding. We can't necessarily handle anything. Be gentle.
What's the thing our doctor says? Narcissism? That's the thing, right?
No. He says narcolepsy.
Oh, yeah, that's where I fall asleep while I'm driving. Right?
Oh, no, I thought that's where you were just really self-prominent and like very selfish and like self-absorbed.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so
me either.
It could be any or all of those things.
I could be a doctor.
Well, everyone could be a doctor, but that doesn't matter. You didn't go to medical school.
No, but people always call me the doctor of love.
For some reason, I don't believe that that's true.
No one's ever called me that.
No, I didn't think so. No. Not from your reputation, certainly. So
at least I have a reputation.
Well,
back to the internet.
We all have a reputation. Some of us have good reputations. Some of us are you. So
what's the opposite then? Why was I not in the good reputation crowd?
There's good and there's ret. So
why are they so far away?
That's pretty close. It's not to scale. It's actually twice as big. That was a 1 to 2 scale.
So I'm in the middle?
No.
Okay. Either way,
we're probably going to cut most of that out in editing. So
who knows? So I've got something. I've got a story, and I'm not going to tell this story that just happened to us. Believe it or not, we both enjoy food. However, I eat normally at a decent hour. J.E. does not.
No, it's true. I usually don't get really hungry until around 1 or 2 in the morning. That's when I like to feast. So,
what if you eat like later? Are you still...
later?
back to the scale. I'm over here on the scale.
I don't know about that. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. I could eat at 10 o'clock at night. That could be our normal dinner time. And at midnight, 1 o'clock, I'm going to be hungry again. So that's just how my body works. I don't always eat then either. I want to make that clear. But whenever I have the opportunity to get out of the house and go to Taco Villa, which I'm sure is the story you're about to bring up. If I have an opportunity to go to Taco Villa, I will go to Taco Villa.
No free ads. Taco Villa, call us. But you just go ahead and tell it. We all know where this is going. Just tell it.
All right. So we were Rhett came into town and we decided we're going to film episode 2. It's been long enough since episode 1 that we've stopped crying, we've cleaned up the mess, and ready to try again. And so Rhett came into town, and it was late, and so I said, well, let's go to Taco Villa on the way to the studio.
That's what we call this?
This place.
The studio?
So I said, let's go to Taco Villa on the way, and I don't know if you've ever eaten at Taco Villa. It's not the best, but the best doesn't exist anymore now that Lone Wolf is gone. And if you don't live in Lubbock, you don't know what Lone Wolf is, but...
peace.
There's
going to be a memoriam some point.
I don't know if that's true, but
we're going to throw it.
But Taco Villa,
Barnabas is going to throw the memoriam for Lone Wolf.
Okay, so Taco Villa is a close second, a stand-in in the stead of Lone Wolf. Now
in the stead.
Instead.
Who says that?
I did. I just did.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, we're on our way to Taco Villa, and it's around 11 o'clock. And the other
not
night,
around 11 o'clock.
It's exactly 11 o'clock. And so we pull up, into the parking lot. All the lights are on. Drive-through
Don't
lights
say
are
we pull
on.
up. Who?
Rhett's driving.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'm just in the passenger seat. But Rhett's driving. We pull into the parking lot. All the lights are on. We pull into the drive-through lane. The second that we stop at the drive-through menu to place our order, lights go out. And it was just the most infuriating and saddening and disappointing experience that I've had in a long time. It was terrible.
You live a good life if that's the most disappointing moment you've had in a long time.
It's true. I do live a pretty good life. I'm not going to lie about that.
But
Pretty blessed.
you should have seen his face after this. He makes me pull up to the window so we can look inside.
I wanted to see if they were what they were doing.
That's not true. He wanted to make them look him in the eyes and tell them that they were closed.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna turn the lights off on me, you got
think
at
they
least
knew-
have the decency to look me in the face and do it.
Do you think they knew we were there?
Yes, I think that the time to close had passed. They were busy doing other things. They saw us pull up and they said, "Oh no!" And then they flipped it off as soon as we pulled up to that window or to that menu.
Like we pull up, roll the window down. I said JEL, 3, 2, 1, lights out.
Yeah, it was.
And
It was deliberate for sure, 100%.
that's very cynical of you.
Well, and then what made it funnier was it was the second time it's happened in 3 days. And so the other day we were going to, where was it? Jumburrito. We were trying a new place, Jumburrito. And
I'm not getting food
No,
either of these
it's
times.
just me.
This is just don't throw me in this wagon.
what? So yeah. So anyway, so we were 3 days ago. We were on our way to Jumburito and pulled up, and same thing. People inside cleaning up. Drive-through closed. Couldn't get food. But that night Taco Bell was still open. We got Taco Bell.
Well,
that
because it's
night.
10.
That's true.
So we've learned a lot about when restaurants close.
Yeah, earlier than I would like.
Well, because you want to eat at 1 or 2 o'clock in the
I
morning.
just want one good burrito place that's open 24 hours. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yeah, it is if you're the only person who's going to go. They're not going to make money in that.
You're telling me that I'm the only person who's going to go eat a burrito at 2 in the morning.
I bet there's at least one burrito place. We'll look into it.
All right, we'll see.
We'll look into
If
it.
if you live in the Midland area, let me know if you know of a good 24-hour burrito place, because I'm always looking for a good burrito place.
No, I mean yes, let him know. But there's gonna be thousands of comments, just like episode 1, of people commenting back on things we had to say, and most of them are gonna be telling you a place.
Well, we'll see. I'll try them all. That'll be my promise to you. If you post a comment of a burrito place in the Midland area, I will drive there. And
What's
try
the
it
Midland
out.
area?
Midland. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory.
Does Odessa count?
No, Odessa's not Midland.
So you want to drive 15 minutes to get a burrito?
Nope.
That was a hard answer. That was
If I was gonna take time, I would cook at home. I want to drive and get something fast.
fair enough.
Okay.
Either way, this is a roundabout way, and that story is 100% real.
Yeah, 100%.
This is a roundabout way of us bringing up kind of the topic that we want to talk about tonight. We look around.
Burritos. I'm just kidding.
Green chili is the best way to do a burrito.
If you're in New Mexico, I agree with that. Texas doesn't really know how to do green chili.
So cynical. Either way, we wanted to talk about disappointment. What a segue. We wanted to talk about disappointment and things that kind of lead us to disappointment in life and how we think is the best way to kind of handle disappointment. And I'm very mindful of a story that I tell a lot. It's a story that transformed who I am. When I look, it happened when I was a sophomore in high school. I love basketball. I still love basketball. I listened to the end of the Mavericks game. Go Mavericks. That is like one of my favorite things in life is the Dallas Mavericks. I listened to their game today. I try to shoot a basketball. I coach a basketball team. I love basketball. In my sophomore year in high school, I started thinking I may be a little bit good at this. I held on to the dream a little bit longer, I think, than most people. Like, even as a senior, I was like, oh, yeah, I still want to go to the NBA. That wasn't a realistic dream. Disappointment all on its own. Some dreams just don't come true.
But at that point in your life, you thought you had a chance? Like, did you believe that if you worked hard enough, tried hard enough, that you could make it someday?
Maybe not my senior year, but my junior year for sure.
Yeah.
I was at least 17, and I was thinking
I believe
that there's
that
still
about
thanks. Back to the very, very first about
There you
I
go.
can
Narcolepsy.
oh narcolepsy, yeah. All the way back to the very beginning. I went and I had this opportunity to go and practice with varsity as a sophomore. And I was thrilled. At this point, I was on JV. And like looking back, this is the most fun I was ever having with basketball. On JV, I was playing the whole game. There were special plays drawn up for me. I loved it. And
Special. What do you mean special plays drawn up? For you?
like they wanted the ball in my hands so I could go score. And so it like
So it was like,
being narcoleptic, that was a really like that. I really loved that it was about me.
Yeah.
And so
the play is get the ball to Rhett. That was the play. kind
that
of
was
thing.
the play. They said give a screen to Rhett, make him make a play. They put a guy right next to the basket that I could throw to. It was awesome. Like I felt on cloud nine. And so I start practicing with varsity on during this week, and I can't remember what day I finally started. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to get called up to the big leagues. I went to a really big high school. Being on varsity as a sophomore was going to be a really, really big deal. However, I was still on JV. I had started practicing, and I was right there. We ended up playing in this little round robin thing where there's 3 teams and everyone plays 2 games. You play everybody.
Yeah.
And in this game, they asked me to go in, even though I was in foul trouble. I got myself in foul trouble, so they pulled me out of the game to save my fouls, because you only get a certain amount of fouls, to save my fouls for the end of the game. And I go in, and I'm trying so hard not to foul. I'm on the ball, and I remember this just like it was yesterday. I'm on the ball. A guy comes to screen just behind me at a weird angle. And the guy that they had kept sending to do that to me was probably around my height. So the technique you use is you push through their shoulder to get through a screen. Well, I go to push through and I miss. And I realize that it's not the same guy. It's a guy much taller than me. And I got my hand right here in that person's armpit. We both fell, and I snapped my arm in half. To the point, I'm holding it like this. My coaches run out and say, hey, let go so we can see your arm. They just thought I sprained it or something. I let go, and it just drooped down at a 90 degree just below my wrist. I'd say 4 or 5 inches below my wrist. I remember in that moment just feeling lost. It hurt, but it didn't hurt yet. I just knew this was a bad situation. I ended up going to the ER and them having to set it because I broke both bones in half. They didn't set it quite right. And so when I had to go to surgery, they had to do something different to get the bones to go back in place. And now I still have 2 plates and 10 screws in my arm. I went through 8 months of physical therapy. And what's funny is people go to physical therapy my age quite a bit. ACLs, different shoulder injuries, they would come for 2 or 3 weeks then leave. I remember that I became friends with the trainers as opposed to the people who I was going through stuff with. And at one point, I was even there longer than a lot of the trainers there. And I started to lose sight of basketball, and I started to lose sight of myself. And I remember just being disappointed. It wasn't necessarily sad. I still don't know the right emotions to call it.
Is it kind of at that point, is it the disappointment of the realization of the dream is gone, I'm done with that, or is it just the kind of the toll that going through something like that physically takes on you mentally?
I think it was the dream. Like, because the dream at that point was varsity. I was going to go step at a time. The dream at that point was varsity, and it wasn't even, I wasn't getting plays called for me anymore. I was disappointed in my circumstances. I was disappointed in even the people around me. I thought that they should be treating me better. I was even like, you know what, they'll run this play in my honor. And like, I just remember thinking everything moved on without me. And I was disappointed because I didn't want people to move on without me. I sat here and I created a situation where I wasn't needed.
Yeah.
And so it was more so just a disappointment in myself is why can my arm not get better? Why can these people move on without me? And I remember just sitting there in that disappointment.
Yeah. I remember whenever I was my disappointment story comes a little bit later than yours, because mine happened after I was married already, and I realized marriage wasn't what I thought it was going to be. No, I'm just kidding. I
Megan's one of our 3
I know.
viewers.
Thanks, Mom. If we forgot to say,
Mom,
forgot
yes.
to thank our moms for tuning in, and also thank you, Megan.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
I make my dogs watch, but it's the only one view on me.
I don't think that Megan has made it this far into the podcast. I think she watches the intro and then she's done. So, but so anyways, we were married and we were living in Montana. And right after I got out of school, I took a couple of different jobs. I worked at a barbecue restaurant for a while. I worked at Circuit City. Neither of those places exist anymore, and so
is that you're doing?
Maybe. I've worked at a lot of places that don't exist anymore. So Substation doesn't exist anymore.
You've got a track record.
I do, but one of the jobs I ended up taking was as a Schwan man, and
I never knew this.
yeah, so I took a job as a Schwan man, and so they gave me the interview, filled out the application, I went in, and like, okay, we want you to go for a ride along for a day with a Schwan man. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, and kind of see what it's like. And I just remember it was horrible. It was terrible. And so I went in and I had to be there at like 4:30 in the morning to load the truck. And we got on the truck, yeah, and we had to
especially if you're eating your last meal at 1.
Yeah. And so we got on the truck. We had to drive out 3 hours to where our route started. And so it was just 3 hours of driving first thing in the morning. And we drove all over all these towns and kind of made our way back towards Lubbock is where I was living at the time. And it was getting late. Like, remember, I got there at 4:30 in the morning, and it was getting like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, are we heading back to the hub yet? And the driver's like, oh no, we got 2 more towns we got to go to. This is 8 o'clock at night. And so it was 11 o'clock before we made our last stop, and it was midnight before we got back to the place. And so then I'm thinking, like, 4 hours from now, this guy's going back out on the road. Like, he's got a 4-hour turnaround to rest and recuperate and then go do that all over again. And so I did that right along. Talked to the supervisor. He said, okay, here's the deal. Our next official training is 3 weeks from this date, and so show up. That's when you go through all your video training and you sign all your paperwork and everything like that. And so I immediately went home and I told Megan, I have 3 weeks to find something better than that because that was terrible. And so I went all through the want ads, and I went through online monster.com, looked for jobs. I was just looking for a job, and one day just got dressed, made a list of 10 places I was going to go put out applications, and went to all 10. And as I was going to the 10th, I was just beat down. Like, there's nothing worse than looking for a job. I hate looking for a job. And so I got done with the 9th stop, and I was like, I'm just going to go home. And I looked, and there was one more stop, and I was like, I don't want to go. I just want to go home. But I forced myself, filled out the application, and it was at Oak Express. I worked for Oak Express, which is a furniture store, if you're not familiar with Oak Express. And normally it takes months to get hired there, but it was like a perfect storm because the assistant manager was in the store that day, the store manager was in the store that day, regional manager was in town that day. And so I went in and I filled out the application just thinking that was going to take 15 minutes, hand it in and leave, but ended up being there for 2.5 hours just going through 3 back-to-back interviews, and got hired and started like 2 days later. and I really liked it. Like it was a really fun job. I liked learning about all the products and learning the demos for all of our tables and everything like that. And so it was really cool. Learned a lot about furniture and how to make furniture and what makes a piece of furniture quality. And so there was a whole lot of training that went into it, and I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed being on the floor helping people find stuff that they didn't even know they needed, but showing them like, oh, here, this is what your scenario is. Let me show you what we have. This would fit perfect. And seeing that look on people's face, I'm like, oh, that is perfect. And then they love it and they take it. It was really fun just working with people and getting them connected with stuff. Um, and I did well. I was a pretty decent salesman, and ended up. They asked me if I wanted to promote into management, and I was like, oh, sure, that sounds fun. And I knew managers made a little bit more money, and we were wanting to have a family, or maybe we did have a family. I guess we did have a family at this point. Will was born whenever I first started working there, and so I was looking for opportunities to make more and take care of my family better, and so I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And whenever they promote you, they move you. You can't promote in the same store that you are working in. So they moved us to Great Falls, Montana, and I helped manage the store up there. And whenever they were talking about promoting and going through the management training, they're like, here's the deal, it's going to be great. You're going to go up there. Typically, you're an assistant manager for about 6 months to a year, and then you get your own store. And I was really looking forward to getting my own store because I got a bonus when I got my own store. And so I was looking forward to that. And so I was like, sweet. And so we went to Montana. Um, 6 months went by. Talked to my regional manager, and he said, "Oh no," he said, "I think it's going to be closer to a year before there's a spot open and before we can make this happen." So I was like, "Okay." And so I was trying to be patient, and as we got closer to that year mark, our regional managers got shifted around, and we got a new regional manager, and he came in, and it was like starting from scratch. He's like, "Okay, I got to get to know you. I got to before I promote you, I got to make sure that if I put my name on you, you're going to represent me well." So I was like, "Okay." And so I was just trying to prove myself and do as good a job as I could. And after we were there for about a year and a half, 2 years, I said, I talked to him. I said, "Hey, I think I'm ready for my own store." And they told me when I first came up here it was going to be 6 months, and here we are, 2.5 years later, and it's still not happening. So what's the holdup? And he basically said, "Here's the deal. I don't think I'm going to promote you." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna promote you. I don't think I'm gonna give you your own store. I just don't feel good about it." And I was like, "Well, why not?" And he had legitimate reasons. My sales numbers weren't as high as he'd like to see them. It wasn't that I was doing a bad job, but he just wanted to see a little bit extra, and I hadn't done it. And part of that was my own frustrations at being there longer than I thought, and so I let things get the better of me. And so, but I just remember in that moment thinking like, this is the end. I moved my family to Montana. I'm stuck in this job that I don't want to be in. And there's something else that I was really looking forward to, and it's like that was taken away. And then I was like, well, what do I do now? Like that was my thing. I had decided this is going to be my career, and it turns out it was not going to be my career. I wasn't going to move up anymore, um, and so that was a pretty big hit. As someone looking to try to better their family and to know, I mean, because even as an assistant manager, you're not making a ton of money. You're making better than a salesman, but in Great Falls, Montana, it's a pretty small market anyway. So we were not rolling in it, and I knew I wanted better. I wanted to be able to give my wife and my kids better than what I was giving them, and I just saw the opportunities to do that just vanishing, and I just felt lost. So
It's crazy the amount of disappointment people feel in life. I don't know of a life without it.
no, there's no
But
there's no such thing as life without it.
in going through disappointment, it always, and I think this is true for lots of things in life. It's not what causes the disappointment generally that defines it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not the thing that caused the disappointment that you look back and you remember. It's the time after. It's how you handled yourself. It's how you move forward off of that. You can sit in your own pile of filth, and that does nothing but make disappointment worse.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's all about how you respond. And that's not just with disappointment. I think that goes for any situation that you're in. The character of a man or a character of a person, don't want to be sexist, the character of a person is defined by how they respond to circumstances because you can't control what happens to you. The only thing that you can control is how you respond to it and how you deal with it. And if you want to be a person of strong character, then you have to choose to respond in a strong way. And so whether that's disappointment and you didn't get what you wanted, and I think you're allowed to feel sad for a little bit. You know,
No,
you're allowed to feel all of those
my
feelings.
biggest thing I tell people is it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
But you said a very important word, I think, in the grand scheme of all this is you have to choose.
Yeah.
It is a choice, not that disappointment happened, but to be disappointed. I look back at my time when I was going through all that therapy and stuff. I made a whole new set of friends that I just completely ignored because they weren't the friends I wanted them to be. I wanted my friends to be the ones on the basketball team. Instead, it was the people I grew closer with my church at that time. I grew closer with my parents and family because I was spending more time with them. You know, basketball practice would run all night. And I would be going home early because I went to physical therapy right after school and I'd go there. I had great things happening, but because I had a single bad thing that took me away from something else, it was bad, bad, bad. Mm-hmm. We're all going to face stuff in our life. These stories, I hope, are relatable. I hope that you say, you know what, my story's not like that, but I have a story similar. And I hope you have the opportunity to look back. And I hope you have the opportunity to put this in your back pocket for the future. It's okay to not be okay. But nobody else really is going to pull you up but yourself.
Yeah, you can't live there.
No.
You know, it's okay to be there for a little bit, and it's natural. It's healthy to grieve and to mourn, whether that be loss of a loved one or loss of an opportunity, loss of anything. You know, there's a lot of ways that we experience loss, and it's okay to feel all of the feelings that go with it. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. But
you said it, yeah.
But if you decide you're going to live there, then that's a bad decision. And you know, I love. I don't know if it's actually a quote from Winston Churchill, but I saw it on the internet, and
it
probably is. But he said, "Whenever you're going through hell, keep going."
Yeah.
And I think that so many people think, well, I'm in my own personal hell, and they're just going to stop. And I'm like, why would you stop? You got to keep going. You got to get to the other side of it, and things get better.
As we started this podcast, and as we look towards our conclusion right now, this is meant to be encouraging. That's what all of this is. But in that, I hope the encouragement is maybe knowledge to get yourself out of something.
Yeah.
Realistically, you may be going through some disappointment right now. It may not be the biggest disappointment of your life. It may not be this grand story, but there's something probably aching at you. You can get through it. That's the encouragement for this one.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, absolutely. You can, and you will. That's the thing. I think that most people feel this hopelessness of it will never get better, but things do get better, and you can make it through. Absolutely.
I agree. So as we wrap up episode number 2,
all the way
Barnabas, Sons of Thunder.
There you go.
Yeah, Thunder right here.
Yeah.
But I hope you take this. I hope you think about what's going on in your life. I hope you hug somebody's neck, and I hope you know you definitely can get through this.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. We really enjoy these conversations. We would be having this conversation if you weren't here, and so we love being here. We hope that you enjoy these and get to take something away from it, and we hope you'll join the conversation in the comments, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to visit with you and get to know you, so post a comment, and we'll respond as often as we possibly can. But thanks for joining us. Barnabas, Sons of Thunder. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Barnabas, Sons of Thunder. We really hope that you found this episode entertaining and encouraging. We really do appreciate all of you who decided to tune in and spend a few minutes with us. If you'd like more, you can find us on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify.